Hey guys, it's Nadine, and I am here to do a really quick tutorial. Well, this is going to be like a sped up tutorial, a process video actually, on how I have made one of these stick pin, Birdcage stick pin holders. So as you can see, here's my stick pin holder, and this is what I gave away to a couple of friends already. One happened to be Mel, Hearts 1217, for our stick pin swap. And this is what you can do. You can actually put all of the stick pins. If you guys have joined the swap, your stick pins will fit in something like this really easily, and it's a great way to display your stick pins. And what you're gonna need are a few things, and so I'm going to show you guys what you're going to need. So hang tight, I'm going to show you guys how I actually made this stick pin holder. Alright, so I got this Birdcage from Michael's. It was in the $1.50 section, and that is the main thing for our project. The next thing I actually got was a yard of fabric from Hobby Lobby. Then I got a piece of cardstock and I put the Birdcage over it, and I actually made a template, a circle template using the Birdcage, and I cut it out, and what I got from cutting it out was that round piece right there, and I'm going to show you guys what I'm going to do with that later. Then I grabbed a 6x6 piece paper, 6x6 paper pad that I got from Sarah. I picked out the kind of designer paper I wanted to use, used my template, put it over that, traced the circle, and went to town with my Fiskers Scissors and cut out a circle, cut out the circle that I traced. And I'm going to show you guys what I'm going to do with this. And so once I did that, I went ahead and got my Xyron 5-inch Create a Sticker. I put the designer paper on top of the sticker runner, and I ran it through to make the back of the designer paper sticky. I then usually take my bone folder and I go over the sticker really quickly to make sure that all of the adhesive gets on the paper. Then I went ahead and stuck it onto that template, the thicker template that I made, and now I'm just going to trim around the edges to cut off any excess, because I don't want the brown backing to show up through. And I'm going to show you guys what I'm going to do with this, and we're going to put this aside to use later on. Okay, now I'm going to take another thing I needed was some stuffing, and I just got that stuffing from Joann's. I'm going to take out a handful of this, and I'm just going to kind of crunch it up and crumble it up and put it together and make it into like a nice looking ball. What I did next was I opened up my fabric and I cut out about maybe a 5-inch strip or so of fabric. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the batting that's wadded up, and I'm going to put it in the middle of my fabric piece that I just cut, and I'm going to start folding over the fabric piece to cover the batting in its entirety. So as you can see, you kind of just want to grab all the edges and put it so that it kind of makes like a round-ish puff that is going to go into the top of the Birdcage. And this Birdcage is giving me a little bit of a hard time to open, so I have to pry it open with one of my tools that I had on my desk. So then, again, I'm taking it and I'm going to see, okay, is this going to really work in here? So I put it in here and I just kind of check it out and make sure that it fits nicely and that it looks, like a nice little puff dome within the top of the Birdcage. So I'm like, yeah, that works, okay. And then I'll take a floral pin, which I use to make my stick pins, and I just go ahead and put it in here, and all it's doing is just holding my little puff or my pin cushion area together, so that way it allows me to glue down this fabric nicely. So initially I thought I was going to keep the pin on here, so I actually tried to snip off the edge, the end, but it didn't work out that way, so I ended up not doing that, not going that route, which sometimes you find when you're crafting that some stuff doesn't work out the way you had anticipated, but that's okay. Now I'm taking my glue gun and I am gluing down the fabric so that it all sticks together nicely, okay. So I have it all, stuck together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere with my glue gun my little pin cushion puff, and I'm removing the pin and I'm just, you know, adhering down the entire pin cushion, the little batting pin cushion that I just made, onto my cardstock piece that I made prior to this. And just make sure that all of the edges are actually glued down or fastened really well, because you don't want the brown to show up with your birdcage. So as you can see, I'm just kind of, you know, patting it down and squishing it together to ensure that everything is well glued down. Of course, I forgot to cut off the tag, which I normally always do anyway. Then I got some of this lace trim that I got it from Celebrate It, and I bought that from, I think I got this from, let's see, Michael's. I'm pretty sure I got it from Michael's. And so this is not the initial one that I use on other bird cages, but this is the only thing that they had, so I had to make use of what I got. And I also am using my glue gun tools that I bought from Jules Aviles. So anyway, it helps to save your fingers from getting burnt. So what I did is I just added some glue, and I am now gluing down my lace. And you don't have to glue every single rung of the bird cage. You can, I actually just did the parts that you know, maybe every 4 or 5, and then I used my instrument to go ahead and tack it down to make sure that it stays without having to burn my finger, because if you were to put your finger on lace at this point with glue, oh my god, with hot glue gun, it would burn the heck out of you, no joke. Okay, so I am just finishing up this part and continuing to go around the bird cage with my lace, and I am at the back, and I'm just gonna trim off a little bit of the excess that I had when I initially started with the lace. And now I'm making my final glue run, and I'm pushing it down. And I love glue gun because it's so quick in drying, and for these kind of projects you need that, because you know, you just don't want to be waiting around all day for glue to dry. Now I'm just taking my Fiskers trimmer and trimming off the excess the excess lace. Okay, so there's the bottom of my bird cage. Next I'm going to go ahead and use more lace, and that's the Simplicity brand lace. Again, I got that from where did I get this from? Oh, I got this from Walmart, as a matter of fact. So I'm just going to attach that to the top of the birdcage. Now, because the lace, as you can tell, the top part of the lace, the, you know, maybe the quarter part portion of the lace, or the 1/8 part of the lace is actually thicker, I can just use my finger to pat it down and it won't really burn me. So I'm just doing that, and I'm attaching the lace with my glue gun again around the perimeter of the top of the lid. And I just go over that little section right there that is actually the fastener that helps you to open and close your birdcage. So finishing up, this does not take very long at all, I promise you guys. Literally one bird cage takes me about maybe 15 minutes max to put together. It depends on how elaborate I embellish it, but for the most part it's really very fast. So now I'm just finishing up the back portion, and I'm gonna again use my Fiskers scissors, which is actually a fabric scissors, to trim off the edge. But I use it for crafting as well. Now I have Simplicity, the what is it called? Flat back pearls that I bought from, let me see. Initially I bought it from Michael's, but Michael's has been out of them for quite some time. And I have the little finger tool again, glue gun finger tool, so that I don't burn the heck out of my finger. And I'm just going around the bird cage, adding some glue gun, hot glue, and then using the little nubby on my finger, which reminds me of those old-fashioned you know, rubberized things that my teacher used to use when I was younger. That's what it reminds me of. And I just use that because the flat back pearls has spaces in between them that if hot glue gets in between them, you can burn the crap out of your fingers. Again, I mean, while I love hot glue, oh my god, it is seriously, like, it can be dangerous. I have burned the crap out of my fingers many a time. So I'm just going around the entire perimeter of the top of the bird cage with my flat back pearls, and I'm going to take my scissors again and trim it. So that was pretty easy, no muss no fuss kind of deal. Now, next thing I'm going to do is now I have some distress ink, and I'm going to distress, and that is worn lipstick, and I'm going to take that with my sponge dauber and some flowers, and the number is R51 from I Am Roses. And I get my flowers from my mulberry roses from I Am Roses or Wild Orchid Crafts. And what I do is I just go ahead and sponge up my roses. And I usually get them in white because I like to change the colors up. And so no sense I buy different colors and not use them all. If I just get regular white mulberry roses in different sizes, I can pretty much color them up with my stamp pads to whatever color I want. Now I'm taking the R815s, which is a little smaller size. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my Worn Lipstick Distressed Ink pad by Tim Holtz and my sponge dauber, and I'm going to go ahead and ink up these mulberry roses as well. Okay, so I'm just, usually I do 3 on each side, so I think I'm going to just go ahead and do 6, and I do them all at once because I know I'm going to use them anyway. So I think I'm on number 4 right now, and all you do is just give it a quick little dab with whatever color you want. It's really very fast, but it comes out really cute. It gives it like that pale little, you know, a little bit of color, so it's not very bland. I don't really like bland things. So I have the flowers that I'm going to use for my pin cushion, and I'm just kind of figuring out what placement. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I have some right in the front where you would look at it to open it. And so I know, okay, you know what? I will need that. Now, I have these Recollection paper flowers, mulberry flowers from Michael's too. And I love these as well, and they were on sale quite a while ago, and I bought a lot of them because I use quite a bit of them. And so this is the only time that I'm using already colored flower, and it's a very soft pink. So again, I'm just looking, okay, I want to make sure that my placement is good, so I'm deciding which is what I normally do. I tap my fingers quite a bit. I'm taking my glue gun and I'm saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to put some in the front here. And so I line it up with that little latch that opens my bird cage, and I take my glue gun and I'm just going to go ahead and put some, I want to first make sure, okay, this is going to work out. So usually I just kind of really test it really quickly, and I place my roses in, you know, a certain way that I know that they're going to look good together, or I think they're going to look good together anyway. And then I, you know, use the little stems to kind of roll them together, and I kind of see, okay, well, let me go ahead and check this out. And so I have that there, and I know, okay, you know what, that's the wrong place because that's not where the latch is. So now I have to move it over a little bit, which is fine. And now I'm just going to go ahead and say, okay, I like this, you know, this is going to look great. Let me go ahead and attach this. But let me first make sure that the other side is also, you know, going to work out as well. So then what I do is like I said, I use 3 on each side. I like to keep things symmetrical, and so that's why I keep the same amount on each side. So I'm like, this is how I kind of want my flower bunches, and that's probably not the right word for them, but that's what I'm using in this video. So I'm going to go ahead and attach these to my lace, and that's why the lace is there. It's because it's dual purpose. Not only is it cute, but it also serves, because you would never be able to affix flowers on this bird cage without that. So I just put some hot glue gun on the back of the first bunch of flowers, and I am going to go ahead and attach them to the lace. And then I just take my Tim Holtz scissors, which is another one of my favorite scissors, and I am just putting the first bunch of 3s down. And so then I can put the main flower right there, and that is usually how I set up my flowers in that way. Now, again, in keeping with symmetry, I like to not just have one cluster of flowers. I like to have another one, again, you know, keeping it balanced and whatnot. And so again, I'm just taking 6 of the inked up mulberry roses from I Am Roses, and I'm gonna put them in clusters again and situate them just the way that I think they should go. Usually I have one higher than the other 2, and then I'm just affixing, or you know, twisting the wire around so that they stay together, and I'll do that for both clusters of 3. And you know, you can change this up. You can, oopsies, sorry, that's my cell phone. That's my girlfriend calling, and I have that because she likes to do Zumba, and she's a teacher, and so that's her thing. Anyway, going back to this. So now I know, okay, this is how the front cluster is. I want to keep it with the same theme in the back. I don't want to change it up too much. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that placement is good and the cluster looks good, and that everything is nice. And so again, I'm just putting on some hot glue, and then I cut off the remainder or the longer wire from the flower that I don't need, and I'm just double checking again, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the other side. Hot glue again, attach really quickly, and then go ahead and cut off the excess wire. And then last but not least is the big focal flower, is what I'm going to call that. So a little bit of glue around the flower and on the inside, on the middle, should I say, and I just go ahead and attach it in the middle of those two other clusters, and it makes a really cute, simple but shabby chic-ish looking cluster. And I said, oh my gosh, you know what, there's another space here, so let me add one more flower, just because there was a little bit more. I didn't position the clusters on the left properly or close enough to the big one, so I just added one more, which is not a big deal. That's all. That's, you know, handmade. That's what you can do. You can wing it as you go along if you're finding that things are not working out the way that you had anticipated. So now for the top. So what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and put in the top of the bird cage, or the pin cushion into the top of the bird cage, and the piece that I made prior, I'm taking that out and I'm saying, okay, you know what, let me check this, and I can go back and I can, you know, fix all of the puffy stuff or the cushion itself later on. I can adjust that. That's not a big deal. So I know that, okay, this looks pretty good. Now all I'm doing is I'm going to take and make sure that with my what is that called? I call it my pokey tool, but it's actually called something else. Anyway, I'm going to take that and just make sure that the pin cushion is actually nestled or tucked in really well. Now I'm taking my glue gun and I'm using my glue gun at the edges of the circle that is reinforced, and I'm just glue gunning the circle in and making sure that I stay away from the other fabric. And again, I see some fabric sticking out, so I gotta stick it back in, poke it through, and then go back with my glue gun and affix that. Now the reason why I'm doing this is because I have found in the past when I sent another bird cage out that the bottom or the top, the pin cushion itself, actually fell out from the top, which was not my intention. So now I'm going to go ahead and take my heat tool and I'm just running it over my entire bird cage. And the reason I'm doing this is because what it does is it actually melts whatever excess glue strings that have kind of stayed on the project, and you don't want that. You don't want people to see all those, like, you know, little glue webs, okay? So I just take my heat tool and run it over really quickly, and it cleans off and it melts away the glue webs. Now there is the actual bird cage, and you can go ahead and stick your stick pins in the top of that, and ta-da, there it is. So that's how I made my bird